Welcome to another video connected to the SEO of your website. Today, we're going to talk about Sitemap and Robots.txt options. We will talk about how they work and how to use them on Divhunt. To access these options, you need to go to the settings of your project and under Settings tab, scroll all the way to the bottom. First, let's take a look at the sitemap field and say a few things about how sitemaps work. A sitemap is an organized list or a map of all the pages on a website. It's a bit like an index or a blueprint that shows how the website is structured. Think of it as a big shopping mall which has many stores inside. Often, this mall will have a map which will help you find exactly the store you need without getting lost. Now, why is the sitemap so important for the website? Sitemaps make it easier for search engines like Google to crawl a website. Crawling means exploring the site to understand what's on each page. The easier it is for search engine to crawl, the more likely the website will show up in search results. For larger websites with lots of pages, a sitemap helps in organizing and categorizing content. This makes it easier for users and search engines to find specific information. When websites update or add new content, sitemaps can help search engines find and index this new content faster. Now, after we said all of that, let's see how can you edit your sitemap on Divhunt. By the default, sitemap field will have add pages inside of it. This means that all of the pages on your website will automatically be added to the sitemap. All except the dynamic pages that comes from the CMS. Now, why is this? That's because if you have multiple CMS collections on your website, you don't want some of the collections like testimonials, blog categories or similar to be added to the sitemap of your website. But how can you include some collections like blogs or services which are pretty important for the SEO? Well, you can do that pretty easily. All you have to do is go to the CMS, open the wishing collection and copy this ID here. You can simply do that by clicking on it. After that, just go back to the site settings and into the sitemap field add collection dot and paste the ID of the collection that you copied. And that's it. Now, all of the pages created under this collection will be automatically added to the sitemap. Now, what if you want to manually include some pages into the sitemap? Well, you can do that as well, but that will require a bit of custom code, which we will add and analyze right now. I will just paste it down and let's see what we have here. First option is LOC, which stands for location. In here, you are going to paste the specific URL of the page that you want to add to the sitemap. This is the most essential piece of information in a sitemap, as it tells the search engine exactly where the page can be found. Second option is change_freq, which stands for change frequency. This tag tells the search engines how often the content of the page is likely to change. In my case, I will update this page on a monthly basis, so I want it to be updated monthly in the sitemap. In this tag, you could also add options like always, which indicates that page may change every time it is accessed, or you can go with hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, or never options. It's important to note that this change_freq function is just a guideline for the search engines, not a command. Search engines may not always follow it exactly and will use their own algorithms to determine crawl frequency. And the last option here is priority. This indicates the importance of this URL relative to other URLs on your site on a scale from 0 to 1, with 1 being the highest priority. In my example, the priority is set to 1.0, suggesting that this is a very important page on my website. It's a way to tell search engines which pages you deem most important for visitors. However, it's important to note that search engines may not always take this priority into account, as they have their own algorithms to determine the importance of a page. Now, after all of this, let's take a look at our sitemap. We can easily access it by typing the link of our website into the search bar and adding /sitemap.xml at the end. Here, you can see how your sitemap looks like. You can see here that all of our pages are included into sitemap and as well all of the pages from blog CMS, just as we set. Also, at the bottom of this list, you can see the code that we customly added into this sitemap. Now, with all of this said, you may ask what will happen if I just leave this field empty. Well, sitemap for your website won't exist. but search engines will still index your pages, but it will be a lot harder for it to do it since there are no directions for the search engine to follow. Because that will ruin the SEO of our project, let's put back our code. Now let's talk about the Robot.txt field. This field is used to communicate with search engine robots, also known as crawlers or spiders, and tell them which pages or sections of your website they can and cannot crawl. Crawling is the process where search engines send out robots to collect information from your website. This is how search engines discover and index the content of your website. The Robots.txt acts like a guide for these robots, directing them to the content you want to be indexed and steering them away from the content you don't want to appear in search engine results. Now, I will paste already prepared code here and let's break it down. First, let's talk about user agent. With this command, you can control which crawlers will access your website in order to index it for search engines. In my case, this asterisk here means that all the crawlers can access my website. But if you want, you can give access to the specific crawlers. For example, if you want only for Google crawler to access your website, you can type here Googlebot. Or you can go to the Google and find the list of the available crawlers and add them in your user agent. Now to jump on the disallow. This line tells the web crawlers what they should not visit or index on your website. Since there's nothing after disallow here, it means there are no restrictions. In other words, this line is telling all web crawlers that they can visit and index everything on your website. If you want to hide some pages from the crawlers, you can put them in a directory and just type in the name of that directory here. For example, I have made a directory with name private. Now all of my pages that are inside this directory will get /private/ in their URL. Now what you can do is type /private/ after the disallow. This will prevent the web crawlers from accessing all of the pages that are inside my private folder. How this works? Well, crawlers analyze the URL of the page, and if they find keyword that you inputted after disallow in the URL, crawlers will automatically avoid that page. With Sitemap line, you can give web crawler a direct link to your website's sitemap. It helps web crawlers find and understand all the content on your site, which is good for SEO. Hostline specifies the preferred version of your website's domain. It's a bit like saying, when you think about my website, think about it as www.divhunt.com. It's useful for ensuring that search engines focus on the right version of your website. Now we came across user agent one more time. This line here starts a new set of rules, but only for a specific web crawler. Let's go and input BingBot here, which is Bing's main crawler for indexing websites. With allow.js and allow.css placed below new user agent line, we are telling BingBot that it's allowed to crawl and index JavaScript and CSS files on your website. These files are important because they contain code that affects how your website looks and behaves. Allowing BingBot to access these files helps it understand your website better, which can improve how your website appears in search results. Remember, Robots.txt is a public file, so anyone can see what instructions you're giving to web crawlers by simply adding /robots.txt at the end of the URL. It's a powerful tool in SEO because it helps you guide web crawlers to index your website the way you want them to. And with this said, we can wrap up this video. I hope that you found this video helpful and learned something new about Divhunt and SEO as well. Until the next time, happy building!